This conference will now be recorded.
Paper Sandler, King Door.
Unusual.
Okay, Miss Rita, I see you're online, so I'll ask you if you can hear us just fine. Can you just unmute and just let me know that you can hear us fine? I just want to make sure that we're getting through correctly. There were some troubles with another meeting earlier.
I always hear you, Jason.
Oh, I hear you. Okay, thank you. Okay, I call this meeting to order. It's 4:30. Let the record please reflect that Councilor Arnold and Councilor Best are here. Councilor Moore is not present. Hopefully she will join us soon. If we could get an approval of the agenda.
I'd like to make a motion of the approval in the minutes.
We have a motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, those are set on a separate. We'll do with the agenda. To be approved, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. And there was no problems with the minutes with me either. Any problems?
No, sir.
Okay, so they shall stand with no corrections. Let's see here. One thing, let me say real quick. I believe that I may be wrong, but I think that online it shows that we usually meet at 4 o'clock. I noticed that today. And now this is 4:30 on here.
It's always,
But on the, when you pull up the
it does.
committee,
Yeah.
I think it shows 4 o'clock for some reason. So maybe we need to talk to IT about,
IT, or you note that though?
you make another.
And we've,
I may be wrong on that,
On the
but I think
calendar?
it is. Yeah.
yeah, we've always done it at 4:30 for years.
I wish my wife would say that more often. I think you're correct. She doesn't say that too much. So. Okay, project updates, go ahead. Right?
Our first slide is the project update is the water tower, and I'm gonna have Jim Stexy, who's the lead man out there, describe the picture.
Turn it down.
In the water tower, going very slow right now. They are limited to the wind is the biggest factor. They cannot use the crane, which you can see over here. It's not extended up, but it extends 5 more sections right there. But if the wind is over 10 to 12 miles an hour, it's not safe to go up. One reason is you got power lines along the road right next to it. And when the wind blowing, the material starts spinning and they get a little nervous. And plus there's a guy up there in the tower. But anyway, what they're doing, they're going around and cutting these sections. And you can see there's 2 more sections to go right here at this level. Once they get those 2 down, they're going to come in between these columns and try to go all the way to the center like a pie shape, all the way around so we can keep the beam, the columns in place or intact. And then they're going to start working on the center part and it should come down a lot faster. Right now, it's just a very slow process. So they've only worked 1 day in the last 2 weeks because of the wind.
And I see that we've got some old cell phone stuff still on there. They're abandoned, I'm assuming.
It's all abandoned.
Okay.
Everything's abandoned. We got letters and everything to abandon it in place from all the companies. So Custom Construction is doing the removals and they've got, they're removing everything as they're coming down and they've already removed quite a few of the towers. That's the other problem out there is all the communication buildings are underneath this. So you can't let nothing fall to the ground. It's kind of a dangerous little situation. The guys that are doing the work are extremely careful. They have not dropped anything yet. So, but anyway, it's just a slow process. So the wind is the biggest hinder right now. So.
Okay. All right. Thank you. We have a question, Councilor
I
Best.
do. Is there any way that our rocket man that's building the rocket for the city from the old slide can get some of that metal for it?
That metal will belong to the company.
I understand.
It belongs to Custom Construction right now.
Okay, so I'll have him contact Custom Construction.
Now, the thing is, it's got lead paint.
Exactly. It'll last longer. And those kids can chew on it.
Yeah, don't say that. Okay.
Okay.
Anything else?
No, sir, thank you.
Next
All
slide.
right. Next slide.
Okay, so on our wastewater sewer plant, treatment plant project, remember when you guys approved the funding? Part of it was for dissolved oxygen that the EPA did an unfunded mandate that we had to have dissolve oxygen by the 1st of January. We made it. So in this picture, these are clarifiers where the water is already cleaned out and treated. The next thing would be from here, go to the UV rays before it goes out to the river when we send it to the river. So there's one of the pumps that we added. There's a pump in the clarifier. Basically, the project was, if you've ever owned an aquarium, you put new pumps in your aquarium. We needed 5% dissolved oxygen content. We're up to 7. So we're looking good and met the specs, met the mandate, met our deadlines. Everything's good.
Okay, all right, good. Next.
And then if there's any questions on the project dashboard, if you have any on the other questions.
So on the, look here, the, so let me just say with this on this one with the airport, both Jennifer had to be out of town, I believe it was, and so do we have, we don't have anyone from the
There
airport.
should be somebody online, Tim Archibald.
Who's NI?
Not sure who that is.
Tim Archibald, are you out there?
Let me see what Jennifer sent to me. Give me just one moment.
Anybody from Armstrong Engineering out there?
Jennifer was unable to be here and Jenna was unable to be here. It just says here that she does not have anyone able to attend the meeting.
Yeah, but Tim Archibald should have been attending.
Okay. Got make a little phone call.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Just a moment on that. You might as well stay in here.
Did everybody sign in?
Louis, we can move to the next one and come back to them if we get online.
Yeah, Tim. Okay, so what we're gonna do, we're gonna move forward and we'll come back to you when you show up online. All right, Tim. Thank you.
On a couple of things, if you could please just update us. I know you and I have spoken. I've also spoken with, good afternoon. Councilor Moore, please come on. Yes. And she was brave enough to wear a Dallas Cowboys shirt even after that last play last night.
We're disappointed, but we're still fans.
Next day.
You do know the difference between a baby and a Cowboys fan, don't you? The baby will stop whining after a little while. I'm kidding. Okay. So a couple of things. I know that after speaking with some in Santa Fe and then of course with you, if you could give just please give a brief update on the bridge that collapsed due to the flooding.
Okay, go back to item 2 because we're on the date. Okay, the bridge is designed. So since the Berrindo River is an active river, it's right there. We're on item 2. The Berrindo River is an active river. So the plans have been sent to Corps of Engineer, Mexico Environmental Department, and New Mexico DOT. So once we have those 3 approvals, then we were advertising bid. But right now, we're just waiting for approval from them. Basically, what they want is that the hydraulics, when it floods, will not change worse or increase or get better with the project. It just stays the same.
All right. Okay.
But plans are done.
Also, since we've got Jim here, Jim, where are we with because I had someone ask me this just last week, where are we with the pots on Main Street and the irrigation? Do you know where we are on that?
Yes, sir, we do. We've got the blueprints from engineering. The guys downtown crews start taking the dirt out of the last week so we can evaluate what's
What's down there?
Yeah, it's like, we gotta test a few, get some leaks here and there, and
Okay.
let's get figure out how we can get them back where they belong and get them hooked up.
Okay, fantastic. Okay, any other counselors on any of the projects? Aren't you back? Okay. Tim, if you're online, it looks like you are. If you could unmute to where you can talk with us.
I'm here.
All right, fantastic. The floor is yours with this portion.
We're on the airport infrastructure part, not your project, Kim. But Jennifer doesn't have anybody here.
Okay. So we're going through the infrastructure update. I actually have Mike Garcia right here.
Hello, Mike, how are you?
Hi, everyone. Good to see everybody. Yeah, no problem.
Yeah.
Just try to go right down the list if you want. Again, some of these items-
I'm sorry, we're unable to understand anything you're saying. Can you get closer to the microphone?
Oh, my apologies. Is that a little better?
We're getting feedback. One of you has to turn it off.
Okay.
There you go.
Okay, are we good?
Yes,
Yeah,
sir.
we're good, Mike.
Okay, yes, okay. Do you want me just to run down the task order list then?
Yes.
Okay, on the terminal parking lot, again, we opened bids, like I said. We do have enough money to award most of it. The only thing we won't do are some of the shades in the parking lot. But other than that, we're ready to get the contractor started. The low bidder, there were 2 bids. And the low bidder was constructors who at this, and J&H did put a bid in, but they were a little higher. So we're going to recommend it be awarded to constructors. And we will be, once we get the approval from Jennifer to go ahead and award it, the FAA has the money in place and we will get started on that.
Okay, go to the next one, Mike.
Sure. The airport drainage study. We are going to go ahead and wrap that up. We're going to go ahead and send the final documents in for to go ahead and close this project up here. We'll probably get that closed up here about mid-February. It'll take us the engineer to go ahead and finalize and stamp all of the calculations for us, and we'll get that closed out with the FAA. So that we can move ahead with that project. That'll be closed out. The east side water line, I'm sure Lewis probably has a little bit more information than we do.
East side water line, we're 50% and we're going good.
Okay.
Okay.
The next is phase 1, the 2020 MAP project. We gave some information. We needed the Air Center's help with TSA and the airline as far as some markings that are going to be required for us to remove and put back. So we're just waiting from the airport to help us with TSA and the airline. And we should be able to wrap that up here as soon as we get that information. The next one is phase 2 on the map. Again, we got the information from the city that we actually needed as far as the project locations that we had requested. And we'll be able to get the survey and geotechnical study started on that. The Ascent MRO, that's all kind of suspended and the city is taking that over. I don't have any news on that. Again, the Ascent waterline update or upgrade that is completed. The master plan, it's in progress. We've been waiting for the technical advisory or TAC committee members to be picked, I guess is a good word, from the city. I know the mayor and Jennifer have been working on getting some members for the committee. So once they finalize that, we should be good to go to continue with our master plan. And the PER and the runway 1735. We are actually right now, the survey and geotechnical commenced today. So they are on that runway and they should be there this entire week. We've been working with the Air Center and Air Traffic Control Tower on that. The BLM tanker base, we're just waiting on information from the city. I know Jennifer and her group's working on that. The road hanger project, we had a task order in. I know it was recommended for the city rub hanger to be located on the tree. So we have a task order in. Go ahead and start the survey and geotechnical. That's been submitted to Juan and Jennifer, and we're just waiting for that to be signed so we can turn everybody loose. And
How long of a process are you looking on that with the rub hanger?
this task order is for the survey and geotechnical. So the survey won't take very long, counselors. So we're probably looking at the survey part, the actual data collection will probably take a week. It takes them a little time to get back to the office and get the points all corrected. So probably about 3 weeks, probably 3 to 4 weeks for us to get the information once we turn them loose. And then on the geotechnical part, now that will take a little bit more time because there are some tests from the geotechnical side that take actually 30 days to run for ASTM, or the ASTM is a standard of which testing is completed. So there's tests that take 30 days. So that will probably take at least 45 to 60 days for that geotechnical to be completed. And that's not anybody, again, that's just testing. That's just the standards that we go by. Did I answer your question?
That's fine. Yes. Now the industrial park master plan.
Okay. That's the AAC board. I don't have any information on actually the remaining projects. Armstrong is not really involved in any of those.
Okay. Let me just look through here. The rebranding of the Terminal Cafe, the ILEA HVAC. Do you know anything about the ILEA HVAC by chance?
I do not.
Okay. Panzero Medevac, Building 650.
That permit was issued, building permit was issued,
Okay.
so they're proceeding with their site.
Okay. And the wayfinding signs. We don't know anything really about that.
Negative.
Okay. All right. Any questions or comments from committee members on any of these projects for the Air Center?
I actually have one.
Yes, Councilor Arnold.
So regarding the terminal parking lot, I believe I heard that there were FAA funds that are going to be applied. In receiving FAA funds, does that prohibit us from actually creating paid parking in the future?
Should not.
It does.
It does.
For how long?
I don't know. Why don't we wait for that question when we get to that item?
Yeah.
Good, thank you.
Any other questions or concerns?
Question was
Councilor Moore.
about the rub. We've talked about that months back, so we still haven't picked the spot and
We got, hold on just one second. See if, pull them back up so we can mute them for just a moment.
Tim, mute your microphone, please.
There we go. With the rub hanger, we made the approval for them to go out and to do all the testing and surveying. So the survey and the geotech is being done. They're waiting on paperwork to get that finalized. The geotech he was just sharing is going to take 45 to 60 days just with that alone.
he said he was waiting to hear from Juan and Jen. He said the task order is submitted. He was waiting to hear from Juan and.
Okay, the question is, if you can pull that back up and just keep them up there for just a moment if you can there. Tim, the question is from Councilor Moore, that if we understood correctly, that you're waiting on Juan and Jen concerning the task order for the survey and geotech on the rub hanger.
That is correct, Councilor Perry. We are waiting. We did send them the task order, and we have
Task
not.
order's done.
Okay, we have not received a signed one, but once we do, we can go ahead and commence with the project. or this part of it?
We're not understanding you. It's coming through very muffled.
Apologize. Yes, once we get the signed task order from the city, we will definitely be able to go ahead and get the survey started as well as the geotechnical, report.
Okay.
We just need that, task order from the city.
Okay. All right. Okay. We will find out from, I'll get with Jennifer about that and I'll get back with you. I'll get with Jennifer one. Okay. Any other questions or concerns on the air center information here?
So you said the last one, we don't know, that no one knows anything about what's going on these labs?
Jennifer's unable to be here. She has something she had to take care of today, and then Jen as well. So we do not have to be able to answer on those.
Know anything about these?
The HVAC at ILEA, do you know anything about that? The Trans-Aero Medevac, any update?
The contract was signed. It's a big issue.
Okay.
Okay.
Building 650 demolition.
I think it's on schedule. But they're support.
And the wayfinding. Okay. And rebranding over the terminal cafe counter.
Though I know that they have asked for public relations to be at the next Emirates oversight, give an update on where she's at on all that.
Comments?
Thank you.
You have anything else for us before we go into?
No, sir, I don't.
All right, thank you very much. I appreciate that. Let's move forward with a non-action discussion on La Placita subdivision. I had some of the members of that community, and some of them are here with us today. We'll give you an opportunity in just a moment to speak to us. I've also asked Louis just to get things ready as to know where we've been in the past. I know this has been for several years of trying to determine what we have happening here. So from what I understand, if I have everything correctly, when La Placita came to be, there was a requirement evidently for a number one, for an alleyway to be put through that is not used and is not paved or graveled or anything. So there were questions from the community of La Placita in that. But the other portion was the maintenance of the roads. Am I correct in that? That's correct. Okay, yes. And so I don't know who wants to speak from y'all, and you want to just share who you are and your address, and then we'll go from there. How's that sound?
My name's Lonnie Ashcraft. I'm at number 1 La Placita. These are Solano or La Placita. And we do realize there's been some questions, and actually what brought this up to my attention, I've been there since 13. Dale Lynch started it, and as you said, it's a PUD when they started it. However, we've gone through some of the laws and had a lawyer look at some of this, and each of the board members, if you would pass those out, each of those, a map or so that shows the facility, and on those maps, I didn't know how many on the, if you need some more, we can get you some more. But what this basically amounts to is when we, as you look on that map, you'll see a small van in a very short alleyway. And what happened is we knew that garbage trucks and anybody else couldn't use that short alleyway. We called the city, said, hey, we'll pay for the gravel or we'll pay for the underlayment, put in something to keep from having weeds grow in it. And then they said, no, that's y'all's property, not ours. Now, the deed shows, and the deed show with other people, that the land has, even the roads have been dedicated to the city. Hence, we thought, and what happened prior to this, and this is what this paper will show you, that the city engineer prior to Mr. Nahar was Mr. Story. The roads were approved by him, had it notarized that says, okay, the roads meet all of the specs that's required by the city. And everything's done correctly. And so we thought, okay, we're home free of Dale Lynch, even though it was a PZ. But notice the way they're laid out. They're same road size as what you have in North Sky Loop, right next to us, the big subdivision, and the same as I understand it at East Sky and so forth. So all of those meet what's there. And we didn't realize that only the city has to vote on that to allow the city to take ownership of the maintenance and so forth in that. That's one of the reasons we went ahead and had Story do his deal. He certified it. Everything's done fine. But the city council didn't vote on it. If the city council doesn't vote on it, just because it's dedicated, it's not accepted. So what we are is kind of in that position now to come back and say, where do we go from here to change this? I know that he has his papers that show, well, we didn't do this or this, but everything shows that we have met the qualifications of the city. The homes are built, the city code in the spaces and all that stuff. All the lots are laid out per city and approved by city. And what we're looking for is to get that turned over to the city as just for its maintenance. The roads already meet specs and say, okay, we need to do some maintenance. Now we have done some, just as the city does, if they see a crack or so, we go in and have fixed those, make sure we don't have any other problems and so forth. The water lines are under them just like they're supposed to be, and city water lines. But what we're here for is to see how we can remedy that of saying, okay, with, I guess, permission and or a recommendation from the committee. And we're not asking for that today because pass this out to let y'all read through this. This is some other legalese and stuff in there that you have, give you time to think about it. But to get a recommendation maybe from this committee to the city council to say we would recommend that the city take over maintenance of the roads. And that's all we're looking for. The alleys were dedicated as well. The alleys are signed over. They supposedly belong to the city, but the city, by policy and by law, the city council has to have voted on it. They didn't vote on it in 2006. Everybody that's here, when we moved in there, and even Bill Owen, the reason that you're stuck with me is he threw me under the bus. He had another change, has no, yes. Well, he used to live there until 2 months ago, and he sold out, and now he's at another meeting with his business and so forth. But that's what we're here for, is not to argue the point, but we've had a lawyer look at our stuff that we've done. We have some timelines that we went through, what Miss Lynch did. She was the subdivider, and Mr. Walker, I think, was the other engineer that did the work. When Wagner laid out everything and made sure it was up to snuff. We had Mr. Story come in, and he was in the process at the same time and certified as the city engineer. That's who he was at the time, that it's okay, everything's fine. However, we haven't had the city council vote on it. And what we felt would be more important is to have a committee as yours, infrastructure committee, to say, it looks like you've crossed the T's, dotted the I's, and we would recommend that this be taken in. I realize there's other places in town, Tucker, north of there, roads aren't the same size and so forth. There's some other problems. But we felt if North Sky and East Sky as a road size of 30 feet across is what they are, 32, whatever it is, curb to curb or something. But it met code. That's all we were concerned with, and it does. And so what we would like is the committee to look at this. He has the papers, and that's what we had discussed over here. Said, well, we need to do this or that. We felt if the city engineer signed off for it, we should be okay. That's just our opinion. Councilor Arnold.
So I have two questions.
Yes, ma'am.
The first one, does this subdivision pay local property taxes?
Sure. Yeah, they haven't reduced any of our property tax because of, yeah. Maybe they owe us something now that you mentioned it, we'll
Right.
tell them, hey, you owe us. Okay.
Mr. Nahart, I guess I'm sure you've reviewed this, the taking over and actually maintaining those roads. What kind of strain does that put on your department, or where can it be managed?
Well, it can be managed, but again, this is like the third or fourth time that this has come to this committee or the Streets and Alley Committee prior to the formation of the Infrastructure Committee. And Lonnie did allude that there are other subdivisions that are private. Tucker's one of them. And the PUD is similar to a fancier apartment complex, if I could use that word just for common language. When they came in, yes, the city engineer has to approve that the construction was built as the construction was specified. Because without the engineer accepting the construction is done, the title companies cannot sell the property. So let's say even like the little subdivision that's over there at Montana and Country Club, those 20 lots. Okay, they did all the work, they did everything. Before they can even sell a lot, it has to, because there was an assurance agreement, there has to be an engineer stamp, the city engineer, to say, okay, the work as presented or as approved was done. They can now sell the lots and free the title up, part of the title. Lonnie's a little bit incorrect. The city council did vote on this. When you go to planning and zoning and you all as counselors,
Yes.
you voted on planning and zoning cases. So this case went to planning and zoning 2006.
That's correct.
And it went there, then it had to go to council. And then council had to vote that they were okay with it. Now, the premise of this La Cita was that it's a planned unit development. And they requested not to be R1, follow R1 specs, would have been a 60-foot right of way. It would have been 34-foot roads back to back for our 2005 Public Works Ordinance that was passed by council. So it went to planning and zoning, it went to council. And then even as you look on page 21, it's filed that way at the city clerk's office. So to kind of answer what would have to happen next, we can put it on the agenda for next month, but you'd probably have to take it back to planning and zoning and black council and reverse the tracks. I'll tell you right now, I'll be recommending not, and just because why should a developer be allowed to do a variance and whatever variances they want in a subdivision, and they choose to do variances and choose the tactic of getting a PUD or whatever else, and then later want the city to take it over just like it was. So then the developer was able to use, in this case, narrow right of way, bigger lots, profit motivated.
Okay. We understand that, but the idea being that the roads are the same as the roads like in the others. In other words, North Sky has the same roads that we have.
I would have to measure that, Lonnie, because again, in 2005, they should have been 34-foot back to back. And the right of way should have been 60-foot right of way.
Yeah, no, the right of ways in there, I know come on our property and they may be 40s. I don't know what they are right now because I know that the roads are the same. It's for if you just measure the road, it's actually there from curb to curb and so forth. And that's what some others have. And we've measured different areas and, within 6 inches one way or the other one all the time. But that's what we're saying is, yes, it did. They did use the PUD at the time. The community was built more like a retirement community. You'll notice that most all of those houses in there are townhouses, I guess is the word that we'd use. There's 6 homes that are individual homes, if I remember right. There's only 28 homes in it. The total road distance in there is approximately 1,150 feet. La Placita is about nearly 800 and the other one's 360. So let's say it's 1,160 feet is the total road distance that we have in the subdivision. So we're not asking for a lot in that part of it for maintenance and that part of it. Haven't had to have any since it was just 06. It's new and done what low maintenance we needed to do to keep it up like we normally would have. But that's what we're asking for, is how we would go to that point and say, okay, ask the city council to say, we have passed that, as the city engineer did sign off. It meets the specs the city required to build the roads. So the roads are up to par with the rest of the roads in the city. And that's where we are, and that's what we're asking you to consider. The letter that I gave you, and this is a letter from Steve Trainer at the Russell Street over here. And we wanted him to look at it to see, okay, have we done what we need to do? Is it legal for us to do this? I mean, yeah, we could throw up 3 gates, I guess, and have a gated community over there, but some of the folks, and myself included, as well as these, when they bought the property, we look at the deed, roads dedicated has been transferred to this, the property is transferred to the city, but not by the city council to vote on it for that purpose. So,
Councilor Moore.
yes.
My question is so you said there's issue, what would be the issue of going to, would there be an issue going to you or somebody going to check that out to see if the specs are where they are, if before you just say, I don't know how long it's been since you've been over.
Okay.
Or if you've ever been over there.
Well, I've been over there and other complaints from speeding and that kind of stuff.
Is there handicap stuff on the
Sidewalks.
sidewalks and all that stuff? Y'all have all that stuff the same as that's up to code?
Well,
Type of situation?
I don't know. It was up to code in 06. That's when it was built.
So my question is, do you would
Well-
have a problem?
Okay, and our attorney's not here, but it's up to code as per the variance for planning and zoning commission. It's not up to code as the public works ordinance in 2005. So there's a difference of what you say up to code. Per the variance, yes. The variance said that it was private.
Well, and that, yeah, the variance says private, but as far as do we have ramps or places for ramps and wheelchairs? Yes. Each of them slope down into the street and that type of thing. And whether they're 6 foot wide or 4, I don't know that. I just know they're there, obviously wider than a wheelchair part, but that's what we're asking for. And the variant of maintenance and stuff in there, the city wouldn't be responsible for to bring it up to code to take it now because it was built at that particular time. And at that time, for some of the ADA and other stuff in there, obviously it did.
But that would still be a decision that would have to be made down the road too.
That's correct.
That would,
That's the reason we're not here to pressure, hey, we got to have this today, because we want you to think about it. I left you a map. We're right at the corner of Muscalero and Atkinson. Feel free to drive through there. Give you time to look at it, get the idea of what's in there and what's not, what you don't like or what you do like, because that's what we're asking for. We need your approval to go to the next step, to say we might recommend this to the city council, that it looks like they've done due diligence and it's done right. We have, and I could provide that to you if you'd like. I can bring it to.
Let me
Commissioner
make a quick comment, and then
Sure.
Councilor Arnold has something. So you're just if I'm understanding correctly, y'all are just looking for the city to take over maintenance of the roads is what you're looking for. Okay. Councilor Arnold.
Okay, so this is kind of similar to that, but it's really one word. Why? Why? Because,
Sorry.
no.
That was my question. I might tell everybody.
Because clearly, if there was a variance, it was set up for those, that was done by a developer a long time ago,
Right.
which you guys are the homeowners.
Yes,
So
we're-
why are we at this point, and why?
Why now?
Yes.
Why now?
Talk
And
about
one of
why.
the reasons is it's really just until about, and I'm going to say 3 to 4 years ago, somewhere like this. That's when we came to the city. That's the time it was brought even into Bill was living there as well, Bill Owen. And we were trying to work out with he'd fix the alley. And we said, well, we'll do this and we'll do half of that and you do half of it and we'll cover it, just to keep the weeds from growing. And because if you look at the small alley, and that's just the alley that's up at the very top of this right here, you see a van parked in it. The last thing when we had the alley, except that was required at the time. But you couldn't put a truck or anything on it. So, I mean, you have to turn off the Muscalero. There's no way that you could turn a truck in there. So we just said, why don't we just fix it and gravel it so it won't have any weeds and we're fine. The city responded to us and we got into that. Well, we can't do that because that was your alley. No, we're sitting there as a group because I think Bill probably moved in there in about 10 or maybe 8 or 10, somewhere in there, 2008 or 10. And he didn't know that the city, that we didn't, because our stuff shows that we have deeded that over to the city. Then it comes to our attention. So when it's starting to wander around and say, well, it's already been done. We went to Steve Shaner and said, it's been deeded. Well, the process is you can deed it to the city, but the city has to accept it before they will do the maintenance. And not just the city engineer that signed off on it. It has to be accepted by the city council because they're the only group in the city that can have the authority and the legal use to say, okay, it is now ours. We own the roads. We own the property and the roads, all those, the right of way and everything. Now, once we own that and it's approved by the city council, the road maintenance is theirs. It's not, we're not asking, I mean, it's not a big deal.
So I'm wanting to know, so basically what I'm deducing out of everything that you're saying is that over time you were exposed to your exposure that you didn't actually know that you had.
Right. We assumed that, and even, and like Bill and all of these folks that bought since then, recently, since all of this came to the head where we sign when somebody else buys property in there, we sign a form that says it says private. And until the city accepts it for maintenance, we'll be taking care of the maintenance and parts of it. That's an HOA. So
right.
The HOA could do that. But we're saying as an HOA, as the citizens, myself included, we thought it was already done. What do we have to do to get it fixed and corrected? We went to the lawyer and said, tell us what we need to do. He goes through this, and this is his response back in, and we sent it to Mr. Need at the time, and wanted to bring it to infrastructure to see what y'all would think about it, and let y'all think on it, drive through the community and get an idea of what's going on.
Can you tell me how many miles of road it is again?
It's 1,160 feet approximately.
Quarter mile.
So, but short answer, exposure is your one.
Yes.
Okay.
Let me just ask real quick. I know Mr. and Miss Purcell, they are so quiet. I've never seen him so quiet in my life.
Exactly.
Thank you, Ghost Dog.
His wife is over there slapping him.
Do any of y'all have something you'd like to add? If you do, we just need you to state your name and all that before you touch the signature. Ed, did you have anything, any of y'all? Did y'all have anything you'd like to add to what's said? He's over there asleep.
No, nothing back other than reiterate what Lonnie had presented to you. And that we as buyers, whenever we bought this from the realtors, and we were ones that bought it from the original Adele Lynch. I don't know if y'all know the name, but she assured us that the maintenance of the road would be taken care of by the city. That'd be great. We thought about buying in another location, but in that way, the residents have to pay for their streets. But we didn't want that, no. Well, so we found this piece of property there on La Placita subdivision, and the city is to take care of the streets. Yeah. So we bought there, expecting the city to take care of it. So only recently did we find out that it needs to be finalized by the city council to accept responsibility of maintaining 1,150 feet of pavement.
And then in Adele's defense, she wasn't aware of this either. we met with, that was the first thing we met with was talked to Mr. Wagner, Mr. Story and Adele. And she says, well, sure, it's right here in the deed. We've dedicated the roads to and put them over to the city. The deed has signed to go to the city owns it. And that's when we, through our lawyer and some others that had figured out that, well, it's fine, but if the city council didn't vote on it, they're the only ones in the city that can do that. With the mayor or the engineer, nobody else can do stuff like that.
That's be the authority.
They're the authority in the city.
Mike, do we have an attorney still here? Okay. So not to put you on the spot because you're not an attorney, you don't play one on TV. But,
I stayed at the Holiday Inn though.
you did stay at the Holiday Inn. Regardless of, as an engineer, where you stand with this, would that be the process that they would need to go through? Would be to take this to P and Z commission?
To me, as I understand, the process would be planning and zoning. Number one, council has to recommend that I start that process. And there would be P and Z to reverse the variance. And then it would go to council. That's how I would understand.
You're starting the process all over again, not counting anything that's already been.
So if I was to start building my packet to take it to planning and zoning, the planning and zoning packet would say to consider maintenance of a non-conforming development.
Okay.
Because it is a non-conforming development per the 2005 ordinance.
So another question that I have, and I know that David, and is David still on P and Z?
Yes.
That'd be rather interesting to have to go through. But when David was there's with engineering, do you know why this alley was required?
I do not know.
Are there lines there?
There might be some underground communication lines, sewer lines, and that might be it.
I just recently had some work done and they identified all the lines in
There
there.
was no painted marks in the alley.
Absolutely not.
Okay.
No.
And all the sewer lines are in the streets or under the streets. That's
So, I mean, I don't know if you're alluding to vacating that. If there's nothing there, then you could vacate that alley.
Yeah.
And then typically on a vacation, each
Half of it would get half.
That is correct.
Yeah. Okay. So that sort of answers the question on that. Did Councilor Best, did you have a question?
You almost got in trouble right there.
I was going to say corn Best. Best corn Best.
We're having a family feud along with you. So you two ladies, I know, keep up with Facebook and you see all the people complaining about the roads that aren't getting fixed and we're so far behind and so forth and so on. Well, our history is we had a lot of people here during the base. Then they left. So all of our tax base is going to keeping up all of those roads that we had then. And we do have a program finally. So I'm not quite sure where this would fit in with your program. And I'm kind of leery because how much is it a square foot to slur?
Sir, about $5 a square foot.
$5 and then to repave?
To repay mill and fields, $30 a square yard.
Okay. And we go through, let's see, 4th Street, last time it was done was, I've been on council 12 years and I haven't seen it done in my 12 years on 4th Street. And that's a street that is consistently used. So to me, you're taking a big gamble by throwing this back at the city and assuming that they're going to take care of it. You have it in your own back pocket and you guys, pay $15, $20 a month or whatever a year into a bank account to take care of it. You'd be better served at that. Because if we take the street, we're going to take the 20 feet too. And then we're going to tell you exactly how you can do your front yards and so forth and so on, because there are rules pertaining to the front yards, the setbacks. The setbacks will also be in your backyard. So if you want to build a craft hut in your backyard, it's 25 feet off the fence, if I remember right, or something like that.
Yeah, I don't know what their PUD would say. I'd have to.
So you're going to have to conform to Roswell rules. Right now, you've got an HOA, a homeowners type deal. And to me, that's better because you are buying private property. I mean, you don't have us breathing down your neck as a government telling you, this, that, and the other. Right now, you just tell each other, hey, I can see in your shades, or whatever the case may be. And our police officers, I believe, still go in all of these divisions. So, I mean, it's not that you're not getting fire or police or anything like that. You're just taking the roads into your own hands. And you're not having to deal with the potholes and all of that.
Well, ours being that, obviously only the people that us are on those roads. So it's going to last, as far as the cost of the city, it's not like 4th Street or Main Street or anything else. We don't have, just the locals are on this. And you're right, we spent about $2,500 to fill the cracks and whatever else, and it looks great and all that. But that's what we're asking for. And at least by coming to this, and give us that option.
Yes, sir.
Some of the folks and other people that buy a place, now they don't, but jump to the conclusion, well, yeah, it's in the city, so the city takes care of it. We pay a couple thousand a year, or whatever, each property for taxes. And so that's the reason we would like to see the opportunity for the city to do it. And as he said, would ask the city to accept a variance. In other words, it'd have to be a variance because if it's possible, let's say I've got a storage shed out there, it's inside a 6-foot wall. That's what's required. As you mentioned on that small alley there, if we'd have known we owned it or had control of it, it wouldn't be an alley. Unfortunately, we found this out just after those homes were built. They'd already put up their walls at about $40 a foot and all that stuff. So now we have an alley. We thought the city has an alley, I guess, because you have the egress and so forth, and pick up the trash, in which they do. And the city does all of those things. They bring their truck and we have one alley, and the other ones, they pick up the small trash can, pull out the trash can. So that's why we're here. You're right. It may be better for us to go that route, but I've had some folks, these are some of them, as well as some others that, well, we thought, and we would prefer that. It might be easier for me to sell my property out of them. And it may or may not, I don't know.
What is a resale value?
Well, that's the thing is, the interest rates went up. Most of those that were for sale lasted about 2 weeks. But because that is a nice community, it's quiet, it's a good place to be. But the other side of it is, as far as resale and so forth, some other people would say, oh yeah, we like the city to do it, paying their taxes, so we expect that type of thing. But you're right, and that's the point.
Yeah.
Let me say one thing here.
That's okay. Louis, what if this goes back over to the city and whatever, and it gets wires crossed and whoever thinks it's an HOA again and they start paving it on their own? What happens there? Do you understand my question?
No, ma'am.
So if I go out on 4th Street and I decided, you know what, I'm tired of that pothole, I'm going to fill it and just take care of everything in front of my house. What does the city do? That's the question I've never bothered asking.
Never had anybody volunteer.
It would be nice, yeah.
Right, let me know.
HOA, and they may not recognize, like 10 years down the road, they may not know this happened. And so the new owners come in and actually take care of the road. But I have to concur with Councilwoman Best. Sometimes you have to be careful what you wish for. And I'm considering what we're working on and the amount, you open yourself up to a lot when you allow government.
We agree with that. So
I think of that.
probably good point. Yeah, fix my street.
Let me say one thing here that I think is one of the hurdles, I think that and I'm just seeing this today for the first time, that I think is going to be the planning and zoning commission. They final plat with the subdivision says that the developer proposes townhomes approximately 2,000 square feet or larger with some units sharing a common wall all the townhomes would have two new private streets. The word private is used.
Yes.
And then also in the finding of facts number 4, if approved, the PUD district would consist of 28 residential lots, a 20-foot alley, and 2 new private streets. The new streets will be private, but will allow access for utility and emergency services. So it would take the final plan changing because this is what the city of Roswell's obviously for the first time is going by what was approved.
You're seeing that in there is what they put in it, but they've already deeded the property to the city.
Mhm.
It was deeded to them in 2006, which I don't know when that was written, but that was their saying, well, we're going to have these streets and do this. But the cities were deeded in 2006 to the city, and the city engineer signed off that they met specs before we could deed them to the city. And so we did that. So that's,
But how do we know they're deeded to the city? I know you're saying it, but how do,
it's,
I haven't seen no deed.
that's what I'm saying. How do we know they deed?
Typically, when you deed when a street is dedicated, it's on the subdivision plat.
Yes.
Subdivision plat's included on page 20.
and I can look that up, but I'll have to go to the,
Yeah, because I'm sure we'd have to see that because
the deeds when it goes into the county or the county office takes care of that.
Page
And
21.
even though it's deeded to them, until the city council accepts it, doesn't make any difference.
And I think what I'm hearing from staff is as I look at the deed right here that is on file with the county clerk, Rhoda Cloakley was
that was a long time.
that's a long time ago, when Rhoda was there.
Yeah.
But it does show both Solana and La Placida private access roadway on both of those. So I think that's where the confusion is coming up. I think it's going to have to be if anything is done at all. And that's where y'all got to come together as an HOA and say, do we want to do this? And if you want to do this, recognize that, your street may look like my street looked for a long time until we finally had something done. Sort of pull that out of your hands of being able to do things. But I felt like, because I've known some folks that live in there that have called me and concerned about this over the years, that get it into a committee where we can hear it, and it's where it's not just people waiting on staff to get back who have 100 things to work on, as well as, this isn't the only project, in town to look at. So that there was at least we knew where got everybody in the same room. We understand where everybody's thinking and discussing. And there again, it is not an action item for today. It's on the non-action items here where you are. I think that from hearing from the consensus from the counselor so far, hearing from Counselor Arnold, Counselor Best, especially maybe get with your HOA just as I'm just giving a suggestion and see really, which direction you're wanting to go in. And if there is a desire to push forward with the city with that, then we just need to find out from our attorneys what that process would look like. And then it'd have to get approval from the Planning and Zoning Commission. Then it'd have to go through from there to the city, to a council committee, then from that council committee to full council. Okay. So it's
County zoning to us and then to.
It's as slow as molasses sometimes, but sometimes that's a good thing to be slow as molasses. So
Y'all time to rethink it too.
Counselor Arnold.
Thank you. Appreciate your time.
I just want to say that as taxpayers, I support your wish, but at the same time, I actually agree with Councilman Perry that process. Yeah, I do agree that I want updated information that you present to me as far as, I personally would love to live in a place like that. But that's me. That's because I'm a free spirit on that way. But as for you being a taxpayer, of course, I'll consider your request as long as you go back through the process. Okay, I'll make sure I consider what you're saying.
Counselor Arnold, you're not as old as Mr. Purcell, so I'm not sure you can live there. Okay. Yes, sir, please. Yes, sir.
I've been here 2 years and she just knew nothing about going back to the pothole thing as a community. we wouldn't mind, I don't think, getting together and saying, well, we'll go out and fix the pothole. But to redo the entire streets, that's a different, somebody that's retired and limited income, that would be,
Major undertaking.
yeah.
I almost think you need to go back to your real estate folks because they've led you astray. I'm sorry. Sorry, Mr. Purcell. Yes, sir.
Well, I would say that the precedence has already been set, according to Mr. Ashcraft and his comparing the North Sky Loop and the East Sky Loop. Same dimensions.
Well, the street is, but what he's saying is ours. I'd have to look to see, but like, if they're built to the stretch now, the right of way is 60, even though the roads are the same size. In other words, they have right of way 15, 20 foot past each side and so forth.
It's in on your yards.
And on ours, we have 4-5 foot sidewalk. And then 30 roads, so we did have at least 40.
Yeah.
That just covers the sidewalk.
It's like over at the Grace Corn Heritage House, those big trees. Those big trees, yeah, I'm sure. Those big trees, they don't belong to me, but I water them, I take care of them. The sidewalk, when the trees ruin the sidewalk, I have to fix them, but they belong to the city. So
let's do this. It is non-action. I think we've gotten the information we need for tonight. I'm going to ask our engineer if he can look at North Sky Loop, East Sky Loop to sort of see, see, there are some differences,
Correct.
but there may be a lot of things. So let's do that information. Let's find out. And let's give our engineer an opportunity to sit down with our attorneys as well. Since we do have new attorneys that weren't here during this time as well. Let them take a look at this and I will make sure that y'all know when we bring this back to committee to look again, okay?
Thank you.
Thank you.
So much.
Thank you for listening to us. Sorry it took so much time.
Oh, that's okay.
It's good to see y'all. Y'all have a good evening. Stay warm. It's supposed to snow. Yeah. All right. Now y'all can stay for the rest of the meeting if you want to. It may not be as exciting as you would think it would be, so.
Thanks for the invitation.
All right.
No, not this week.
Thank you.
Everybody.
All right, let's move forward with the 36-inch water main break. Thank you, Ed. We'll see y'all later.
Thank you.
Okay, I don't know if you've heard, but we have another 36-inch line leaking.
Of course.
This is Garden.
Fixing infrastructure.
This is Alameda. This is also Alameda to the east of Garden, but it's a very narrow right of way back in the day. And actually we have the water line. Where's the water line, Jimmy? This side or this side?
It's on this side right here of Sherman. It comes down Sherman Street, comes up to Alameda. There's a house right there and it comes back over here and goes on this side of the house and across the Hondo River. And then it goes all the way back into Garden.
Damn it. Want to see the picture?
Yeah, let's see this is done in 1987.
This is the actual, it's in two different places. You can see the water line coming on Sherman.
The blue.
Yes, blue, then it goes to the west and then to the north, crosses under the river, comes on the north side of the river and back down to Garden, which this is kind of turned on the plans. So it goes back to Garden and then continues down Garden.
Now it looks like my ranch pipe.
According to the plan, it's hard to see, but it actually says city property. It's kind of highlighted a little bit. It's hard to see, but it says city property on the plans.
Go back to the picture. It's not city property.
I could not find any easements or anything showing that to be city property.
Go back to the plans once again. Show me where you're showing it says city property.
I've got the plan right here too.
That's the big version for the temple.
See, it says city property on the
Where is it?
actual
So how
plan.
did we sell city property to private industry without any,
My guess is that the city never bought it.
right?
I'm gonna say that
So go back to the picture.
87, somebody dropped the ball, or 86.
Zoom in, please.
That wasn't you.
Zoom in for me.
Oh, okay.
Is there a house? I see.
This is the house
Going through the
right
backyard.
here, which it shows up on that original plan too. Comes over here and goes on this side of the house.
So it's through their yard, not under the house.
Right.
Correct.
And you can see the same house right there on the actual plan. The plans were done in 87.
And where's the break at?
About where the star's at. We think, we haven't dug it up yet.
Oh, my.
Well, they're getting
Thank you.
water in their yard then. What are they complaining about?
Okay, we do have it cut off, isolated. We have a 36-inch valve up north of the tracks. And remember, we built those new valves at Third and Garden?
The big one.
They're working.
Yay.
We have so there is, what's left there.
On the other lines.
We don't know where the leak is at. Go back to the plans. We hope it's on top, but if you see, it goes all the way down. And what the plans show, they put it underneath the river
Oh,
and just filled it full of concrete.
Nice.
Oh, so how did
We're hoping
you
that,
learn about it?
huh?
How did you learn about the issue? Was
The
there?
homeowner called that water's coming out of the yard.
Okay. That's great.
So we got it located. So there's some issues there. Our water people and sewer people are getting certified right now. So, but we did isolate the line. So the line's no longer under pressure. It's holding water, but it's not longer under pressure. When Lynch comes back next week, Lorenzo Sanchez, we'll get our back truck and go do some excavation, see what we can do. We can find it. We're hoping it's a connection before it starts angling down and it's on top. We're hoping, but we don't know right now. So he called me, and so I have my right of entry permits that I have that we've used in the past. But this is not the first time this happens
no.
when you're dealing with stuff. So we got a right of entry from the Zamoras already. We can get in there. But the first step is we got right of entry. We can go in there. He's got to move some junkyard cars and the junkyard dogs, pit bulls in there.
Nice.
And then, and the guys go in there and try to figure out what it is. Next step would be, once we know what it is, we'd get quotes from using our RFP utility process, get some quotes from the vendors. And of course, you would see it again on infrastructure. In fact, it's already in the agenda for next month to see what the cost and where we're at. The other thing is legally, we get an easement, do we buy the property? We'll just see how that goes and how big it gets. So fingers crossed, it's up on the top before it's one connection. That's where we're at.
All right. Questions? Anything from committee members? All right, let's move on to number 6 of the regular item on the ITB for the parking lot construction project.
Kim, are you still out there? Okay, you can wake up and put your beer down. So, no, it's beer 30 somewhere.
Camera's off center, you know.
Okay, Tim, if you'll go over the bid real quick and your recommendation for award.
Yes, like Mike said earlier, we bid this out on January 10th. We had 2 bidders. We had Constructors Inc. and J&H Services. Both of them were qualified bidders, and that we got 2 bid amounts. The bids were, we had actually 3 schedules in the bid additive on here. So we had Schedule 1. We had 2 bids on that. And then we had a Schedule 2, which was parking area 1, Schedule 3, which was parking area number 4. These all came in within budget. We did not award the overhead canopies, basically the covers for them. We did not have budget to complete those. Those canopies came in at $788,900 and $924,000. So they were way over our budget on this. So our letter of recommendation, we recommended awarding this for the first three schedules, Schedule 1, 2, and 3, in the total amount with tax for $1,295,994. $1,295,974 and 81 cents. That's the total for all three schedules, including tax. That would be, our recommendation was to award it to the low bidder, Constructors, Inc.
Can we have, thank you, Tim. We have a carryover question, and maybe you can answer this or not. Since this is FAA funded, can the city charge for parking?
Okay, our understanding that this funding is FAA federal funding, but is what they call MAP funding, MAP. It's a military airport project funding. It's so AIP funding, which is the regular FAA funding. Our understanding is you cannot use it to generate monies or funds. So if it was regular AIP, because this is MAP funding, our interpretation is it can be used to charge for parking, but we are going to double check that for you guys with we'll get a hold of the compliance officer for FAA. But that is our understanding, that because it is MAP funding, you can use it for revenue generation.
Okay, I had thought that was the case, but so y'all are thinking it is, but you're going to seek out clarification, correct?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, Councilman.
All right, Councilor Arnold.
I just wanted to extend, thank you for the clarification, because of course that makes a very good point on the different types of funding. But at the same time, I would even be okay, like if you couldn't do anything for 5 years, because of that. So, but I just wanted to see if down the road, it could eventually help us generate revenue. Because I mean, most of the stuff, that's why it's kind of interesting to me. Most of the things that the FAA tried to actually work towards is getting the airport to be self-sustaining. So you would think if we're going to actually give you funding, you would be able to sustain yourself. And so that was why I was asking that. But thank you so much. I appreciate you.
Correct. Yes, yes. And we will double check into that, but that was our interpretation, because these lots are kind of laid out to later on put some sort of kiosk system.
Right. And so much is going to a system of where you don't deal with people anymore. It's all done through a mobile phone. I'm just getting back from Salt Lake City, and even ordering food and everything, they would not, at a ball game, you had to use a QR code for everything. Let's see here. A question here on the schedules 1, 2, and 3. Give me some timelines on each of these schedules, please.
Okay, timelines. As soon as we get the okay from the city on our recommendation and we get the contracts going with the contractor, usually that's probably a 1.5 month process to get that all worked out. And we have not talked with the contractor, but they seem to be ready to get started as soon as they could. So, best case scenario for February, March, we could probably get started probably early spring on this. And I believe our days for the whole thing is 60-day construction, so 2 months. So we should be able to complete this without any delays, probably mid-summer, probably mid-June, end of June.
All 3 schedules?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. Now you said that go ahead.
Councilor, one item that we may have to wait for is there's a demolition of a building that the city's going to do.
Yeah.
And that would probably be.
Okay, yeah, we've got, I know they were dealing with the asbestos with the building, so I don't know how long that part may take a little bit longer than the actual getting to the building tore down, but we can certainly look into that. You talked about the the cover, you said that would not be included in these schedules because it was how much, 788 or what was it?
Well, there was two bids. Well, it was from 700, well, let's say 800,000 to almost $930,000 for just the covered parking.
Okay, so is that something that, leaving the schedules as they are here, that can be added later?
It could be, yes, sir.
I just did not know what kind of infrastructure covering would have to have, and if it's, what we'd be looking like in that. Okay.
But I don't know to pay for covered parking.
Yeah,
Okay.
one thing on the
To
covered
pay if it was covered though.
Say that again, we could not understand you.
Oh, I'm sorry for interrupting. One thing on the covered parking that we did have it designed for later on to add a solar system to the top of it, so it had that design in it already.
So let me ask you this. The two bids on the covered parking portions, was the covered parking for area 1 or 4?
It was for area, just a second.
Well, let me ask you this because I'll be able to know a little bit better. Which one is 1 and which is 4? Which one is butts up against nearer to the airfield?
Area 1 is the one that's just west of the terminal building and closest to the apron. Yes, sir.
All right. Okay. That helps me. So with, as we've all heard about the potential funding that we may be seeing coming through for the airport, if that extensive amount of funding comes through and the Airport Advisory Commission were to see this as worthy, could it be added back into this project, or would it have to just wait until these 3 schedules are done to consider that?
We would probably have to rebuild those covers. Or one thing too is we actually, in the whole grand scheme of the planning of this parking lot, there are some other parking areas that were included, not in the design, but in the planning. So those could actually be added, and then those covers could be added maybe on another phase to the parking lot.
Questions, concerns from?
Can we get this shovel ready? That's what they're looking for, a project.
Yeah, and these, that's not an issue, I don't think. Any other questions or thoughts from counselors, committee members?
I have a question, but I'm working through whether it's a smart question or one I should hold to myself.
It don't matter.
No such thing as a dumb question. Go ahead.
The covered parking, is that bid for the covered parking, does that include solar, the expense of solar as well?
No, it does not. It was just designed to hold the solar.
It's designed for it, to hold the weight.
Okay. All right, I was trying to.
If you want to put it in. Oh, okay.
Call and sell and let them give it to us.
Right.
All right, any other thoughts or concerns, comments from committee members?
I'm good, thank you.
This may go to consent. All the action items may go to consent.
These action items may go to consent if you want to. You're looking at a $1,295,974.81.
I'll send it to consent.
Me too. I'll make a motion.
Go ahead, don't pull it.
That's what I said, they're gonna pull it anyway.
Go ahead, make your motion.
I don't think, I'm not on the right page.
Make a motion to go to consent agenda to award ITB-23-009 RAC parking lot construction project Constructors, Inc. in the amount of $1,295,974.81, which includes GRT.
I'll second.
We have a motion, we have a second to send to, did you say consent?
Yes, I did.
Send a consent for the ITB 23009 in the amount of $1,295,974.81 for Schedules 1, 2, and 3 to Constructors, Inc. Any other discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Tim and Mike.
Thank you.
Okay, North Garden Bridge, page 33.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, what you have before you is a recommendation to award ITB-23-005 rebid, North Garden Bridge Phase 2 to Abraham's Construction in the amount of $1,071,293.68, which includes GRT. If you remember, we bid the project the first time. The ideal thing was to rebuild the project and redo the road from Cherry all the way to the other bridge that we left off. And when we did that one, we were $700,000 over the $1 million that we had. We reduced the scope of work, basically shortened the termini. We're still $71,000 over, but I don't think we're going to get any cheaper. And my recommendation is to award the project. As far as the other $71,000, I'll just have to transfer money from a project that's less likely to make it to production this year.
Yeah.
And I stand for any questions.
Questions? Comments from committee members?
I got a couple.
Counselor Arnold?
I'm very excited about this one. We've discussed it several times, so I appreciate you putting it forward.
You're excited about shutting Garden down again?
No,
We'll
because,
send all the calls to you.
no, I get it, but if they would talk to Mr. Nahar, they would know that there's process. Well, there's procedures. He's got a process, just like replacing all the schools, how they all have steps and processes. So it's just kind of like, hold out, because we got to do this, this, and this, and then it'll all be beautiful. But that's why he's pushing forward, and I appreciate his process.
We'll push the cattle.
Condition.
That's Roswell Livestock.
Yep.
Sales right here.
Those truckers are going to be happy with you guys.
Yeah.
Cherry Street's over here where Thomas will be closing next week for the water line.
See, you guys don't get these calls. I get them because I'm from the ranch.
And that's not my area.
All right. Counselor Arnold.
I've had people actually asking about fixing Cherry because
Oh,
when they
absolutely.
take that over, the trucks will come off of Atkinson, go up Cherry to this area right here, and they're tearing up Cherry. So when I asked,
Hold that thought for item number 9.
okay, because see, when I asked him about that, he said, no, here's what we're going to do. And so all of this works together.
Are they
So that's why-
widening that?
If there's no snags.
The bridge will be wider to have a sidewalk, just like we did over there, Deming and Lee.
I
Yes.
like the one on Deming. I like the way.
It's really nice. I go there.
Also, you got
Boxes.
the funding, and I just wanted to make sure everybody understood. We're not asking to change the budget per se. We're looking at changing from
It in here.
one. Mhm.
So it won't be no, it's already budgeted, so it's not like maybe they.
Well, there's only $1 million budgeted for
Correct.
this project.
But the 71.
So I'll have to transfer 71,000 from another project that I probably won't have time to build.
It won't be our budget adjustment, it'll be your budget.
Affirmative.
That's one thing.
All right. Unless anybody else has anything else to say, I will entertain a
And
motion.
you can go to consent.
I make a motion to send to consent the award of the ITB 23-005, the rebid of North Garden Bridge Phase 2 to Abram Constructions in the amount of $1,071,293.68, which includes GRT, to the consent agenda for February council.
I'll second.
Motion from Counselor Moore, second from Counselor Arnold. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, same sign. Motion passes. All right, the cemetery.
Okay, what you have before you, Mr. Chairman and committee, is consider award of ITB-23-007 Cemetery New Artesian Well Project to Coates Pump and Supply of Dexter in the amount of $241,293.52, which includes tax. This one exceeded the budget that we had. And I do have Jim Burris and also Ruben from the cemetery. So what we're doing, we have a shortfall is $78,293.52. What they have in the budget this year is to put in a well and then put in irrigation pipe coming out of the well. Well, we're gonna have to transfer money, as Counselor Moore said, within their own budget and transfer money from the irrigation to the well, because you gotta have the well as the first step. And then rebudget everything for next year. You do have the line items. I do have it shown on 39 that was passed on budget, line item 17 and 18. So we do recommend the project of award, and cemetery and Jim are okay with transferring money from the irrigation to the cemetery, to the well project. We stand for any questions.
Questions, comments from committee members?
You said this was over?
$78,000 over. But if you look at the disparity in the bids, Counselor, we had 3 contractors look at it, but we only had 2 bid it. Keys didn't bid it. Then the low bid is $241,000. The high bid's $528,000.
Oh.
So wells is not my specialty, but I'm assuming like anything else,
Distance.
the distance, the materials, and.
Okay. Jim, do you have anything else?
Officer. I can get it done.
Wow.
I take a while. Just to step through things in the future.
Ruben?
No, just looking forward to something that's really neat because of course the cemetery.
People are dying to get in.
Oh, my gravy.
Since you're here, and we're not going out of step with this, the columbariums, everything, where we at maybe with that?
We're going to general services this month and Joey's buying. Same thing.
Thanks.
Cost increases and so on, but all the plans. Ready to go.
Okay, fantastic here. All right, committee members, I'll entertain a motion.
Can go to consent.
Turner.
It sounds like you don't want to stand up for council.
Well, this is what we do. Supposed to be doing.
Mr. Chair,
The simple project.
Yeah.
I'd like to make a motion to consider award of ITB 23007 Cemetery New Artesian Well Project to Coat Pump and Supply, Inc. in the amount of $241,293.52, which includes GRT to be placed on the consent agenda for the February city council meeting.
Second.
We have a motion, a second, and that motion is to recommend approval, correct?
Yes, I'm sorry.
You know, that word always, it's there when we always, I hear a lot of times people that will say, I make a motion to consider awarding, because that word is there. And I just want to make sure, yes, it's nobody's fault, just and I've always thought, what's another word we could use there? But there's a word to use. So, okay, thank you so much. We have a motion. We have a second to full council for this ITB 23007 in the amount of $201,293.52 with GRT to the Coach Pump and Supply Incorporate on this consent agenda. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Microsurfacing, page 40.
Okay, so what you have before you, Mr. Chairman, committee, is recommend purchase order to be issued to IPR in the amount of $100,000 for microsurfacing. If you look on page 41, this funding is coming from the junior house bill for $100,000. But please note, I need to have this money spent by June 30th, 2023. So what I'm proposing is when the water line on Cherry is done, after they cut the trench and leave it all looking ugly, that we'll schedule a microsurface on top of it. That's what the Microsoft looks on top of that. I also want to microsurface 5th Street, but there's been taking a lot of detour traffic between the railroad tracks and Atkinson. And then I also want to microsurface 3rd Street behind the new Allsups on 2nd and Sycamore, just to dress up that project development area that it also took equipment traffic.
Okay.
And
Wait, now tell me, where at now?
Sycamore and Second.
Third Street behind that.
It's a truck stop now.
Okay, that street behind it that has those few houses on it.
Yes, that's Third Street.
Okay, I
That's
didn't
our
realize
street.
that was Third Street.
That's our
Okay.
street.
Comes after 2.
And you think you can get all that done with,
And by June?
Well, actually, if you look at the estimate, it's 80, what was it? 88,000, And so I'm leaving a little contingency, but I want the PO to be issued at 100,000 for all for the grant. And usually what happens, if I have a little change, I'll see where I need it, and with my own discretion, I'll spend the money.
all right, everybody understand? Questions, concerns? Entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to recommend for approval, purchase order be issued to IPR in the amount of 100,000 to perform microsurfacing to be added to the consent agenda for the February city council meeting.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. My only question is, though the bid that we have from them is the 87,644.89, we can still go ahead and make approval of the whole 100,000.
Yes.
But that's what the money is.
Yeah, you can approve the whole 100,000 PO because I've added it for contingencies. If you remember, council just did the similar thing when I requested and even 600,000 and even 400,000.
Okay.
Because I'd rather have the money and figure out how to go an extra 100 feet, 50 feet, whatever it is, so I can hit that money just right, than go to council and say, hey, give me more money.
Okay. We have a motion and we have a second that we send, and that was to consent. Is that correct?
Yes.
Consent for the purchase order to IPR in the amount of $100,000 for the microservicing. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Other business.
Okay, you have department reports in your packet. Any questions, department report? Thank you, Malia. If not, public comment, and Abraham Chaparro has something to say that's in part of the public comment.
Just a quick notice, Chair, and committee members. On this Thursday and Friday, the solid waste corporation is going to upgrade our IT system at Lansing. We're going to take down our entire IT infrastructure, our servers and our racks, and bring in new ones, more modern ones, so we can expand. The reason for that is mechanic shop needs to have phone drives and Wi-Fi to run the maintenance system. Already, they don't have that right now. The previous vendor actually had their own Wi-Fi system that had a hotspot. We're going to do everything we can to minimize the impact to the public. We're working right now to scale tickets. Is going to be handling tickets. At the same time, admin staff has been shuffled to other areas within the city that can divert all of our phone calls to an admin staff that's somewhere within parks, actually. I stand for any questions if anybody has any.
I don't have a question. I just have an acolyte. So here's your lovely pictures of you guys in Chihuahua on our cleanup. And I just wanted to tell you, thank you. You guys were awesome out there. We also have another one coming February 18th. Actually, a lot of fun. I know picking up trash is not fun, but it is a lot of camaraderie, a lot of fun. And I really appreciate you coming out and really helping that area. It meant a lot to them. And when you do another section, it's going to be just as valuable. So again, my thank you.
Thank you very much. Our staff loves that. It's kind of an extension of what we already do now. It just helps us get into the community.
So my question for Abraham and whatever, for those 2 days, you're going to be running by cash only. So I would like to advertise either on Facebook, radio, that you're going to be running by cash only at the dump. And I asked him, I don't know where he needs to go to get the permission, but Todd is not going to get it out, but Juanita will get it out on Facebook.
Sure.
And I didn't know if community involvement with the winter show, you can just, say it's community involvement and tell him, and he'll just spread it around in the morning.
I'll get a hold of Mike and have a discussion.
If you don't mind.
We need to get out. Sure.
Yeah, I need to get out, because if they show up with the credit card or a debit card, you can't do it. They're going to dump it on the road somewhere, and then we're going to have other people calling.
About 30-40% of our customers are cash.
Okay.
But we have, in tickets, we have flat rates we can utilize as well. Our customers that have actual accounts, we'll weigh them in digitally and we'll charge their account appropriately.
Okay, that part.
Just saying.
Anything else?
Comment, this was I have on the agenda for next month. District's water main repair, downtown planners, if you want to discuss that again. Water ordinance changes, Robert Glenn, and then we'll have 2 mill and field projects, Washington and Garden, to award bids. That's where we're at right now.
All right.
So how can we pick up those 2 junk cars that are on 4th Street that are slowing traffic down?
Where?
We've already put tickets on them and everything else. What else? Can we just pick them up with a tow truck and take them away because they haven't moved? Don't know if they start.
As Toby, as a code enforcement tagged it?
Yep. Code enforcement's tagged it, right?
Yeah, code enforcement's tax.
We've all done it. I'm getting ready to send a nasty letter from my house, but I don't want them to come and paint.
Well, if it's already, all of those have been done, we just call the record that we have contracted and.
Yeah, they'll come take care of it.
I'll contact Toby again and see if he's done it because it's a SUV and that little sports car that has a tarp on it, flat tires.
It's old.
Yeah.
You want to be full?
That would be fine if you don't mind, please. Just add it to your list.
It's been tagged in 30 days. You can usually just
You know,
call the
when they
record.
say, well, and you have to
Thank
turn
you,
it
Ruben.
on and it moves forward and it moves backwards. Okay, but that's not, put it in your yard, not your yard, but your parking. Or that's where your other deadbeat car is.
What did they tell them to move it off the street?
And it's congested.
Let's do this before we go any further, because we can continue talking about this and make sure they don't have any.
Oh, that's fine.
That's
I'm
all.
sorry.
No, that's okay. Rita, do you or anyone else online have anything you wanted to bring forward?
Push the knee, she can call.
Going once, going twice. Anyone online with public comment? Any other public comment in here? All right, well, I guess I interrupted for no reason.
That's okay.
So,
I've
okay.
talked more at this meeting than I've talked since they started in March.
All right, 6:06, we are done with the meeting. All right,
I like
thank
the
you.
people in here.
It's work here, you know that.
Go back to me, but I left them in the car.
Yeah, what?
Earl Grey cookies.
Oh.
For reimbursement. Yeah, I know you do. That's
Reimbursement
why.
for what?
The 2 that I stole from you from Rita.
Oh, please. If they are delicious, I will take one.
Well, actually, these are really good. I got it. For now. Okay, so this was the notes. Okay, this is my only.
Abraham, where are we on
Only
this?
thing I
It's hard for me to read it.
That's okay, you can take a picture of it and read it.
The last one I got, I thought, and please forgive me if I missed it, was that you were, I didn't understand that you were going to get in touch with council. Good. No, that my email that I just needed information.
I don't have access to any of the other.